Shalom, and welcome back to B'nai Noach Academy, Thoughts on the Torah. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe if you haven't done so yet, and most importantly, to share this wisdom and insight with friends and family. If you look in the book of Exodus, chapter 20, verse 13, the sixth of the 10 commandments. Now, I know the 10 commandments are exclusively for the Jewish people, but this commandment is very well familiar and is exactly the same commandment that appears in the 7 commandments, that is the 7 universal laws of all mankind. And that is, thou shalt not commit murder, thou shalt not kill. Now, of course, the real question here is, do I really need God to tell me not to kill? Shouldn't it be expected of your average, decent, civilized human being that they don't have any desire to, nor any propensity, nor even almost any ability to take the life of another human being? So why is it that I need God to tell me whether I'm Jewish, whether I'm not Jewish, to tell me in one of the formal commandments, do not commit murder, no homicide? Why would I? Why do I need God to tell me this? The answer is, of course, God wants us to be civilized. God wants us to be normal. God wants us to be human, not to have any whatsoever, not only not to have the active desire, not even the ability, not even the possibility of wanting to kill another human being, not even an urge, a remote urge of wanting to take the life of another human being. Life is the most sacred thing. But at the end of the day, God wants us not to kill, not because we don't feel like killing, not because it's not a nice thing to do, it isn't, not because it doesn't feel morally right, not because it's so disgusting, but because God said so. In other words, he wants it that he is the final word. The reason why you don't kill at the end of the day is not just because you understand it not to be a good thing, not because it doesn't feel like the right thing to do, but because God said so. Why is this part important? What is wrong if we just didn't kill because it doesn't feel like the right thing to do, or it's the wrong thing to do? It feels like the most immoral thing to do. The answer is because if that were the case, that means that the reason why we're not killing is because we reached an intellectual conclusion. We came to a human intellectual conclusion that this is the wrong thing to do. That is great. That is fantastic. But that's also very dangerous. And God knew that. He knows how the human mind works. He created us. He's the one who wired us. He's the one who programmed us. And therefore, he knows that although the human mind is such a beautiful thing, and the human mind can lead the human being to do some wonderful things, but at the same time, at the same token, the human mind could be the most dangerous thing. And it can lead to the most severe and unfortunate outcomes. The world has experienced this. If you try to put yourself in the mind of, let's say, a dictator, do you think in their mind they think they're doing something wrong? Do you think they can't sleep at night because they're not comfortable with themselves? They feel perfectly right and it's perfectly justified. They don't think they're perpetrating evil. They don't think they're doing something wrong. But at the same time, I'm telling you this, I'm sure in the back of your mind, you could be thinking, well, those are bad people. They're inherently bad. Those are lowlifes. Okay, how about Nazi Germany? These were not lowlifes. These were typical, good, decent people. In fact, not just your typical good, decent people. These are people who were advanced in all areas of science, culture, morals, ethics, philosophy, everything. And yet, look what they perpetrated. Look what they became. Look what they did to other human beings. And interestingly, while they did that, they didn't cease being human beings. In other words, imagine if you say, okay, they turned into vicious animals and they ceased being human. Okay, this is crazy. That's a very, very weird phenomena. But if that's what happened, at least at some level, we can somehow accept it at some intellectual level. But that's not what happened. At the same time, they were perpetrating these atrocities, which are still unbelievable and mind-boggling. At the very same time, back home, they were taking care of their families. They were good, loving parents, doting on their children, taking vacations back home with their spouses and their children like nothing ever happened. They didn't stop being human. They didn't stop feeling. They didn't stop caring. In fact, at the very same time that they were systematically running concentration camps as machines to annihilate other human beings, back home in Germany, there were humane societies to care for animals. So what that tells you is the human mind is a fantastic thing. At the very same time, it's the most dangerous thing. And therefore, God said, the red line should be not the human mind. The red line is I, God. I tell you don't kill. I tell you not to do this. And that's why even when it seems like a virtuous thing, even when it seems like it may be justified in your mind, you cannot do it. Because here's an entire people who were very, very intellectually advanced, very, very culturally advanced, and yet the entire populace was able to not only look the other way while these atrocities were being perpetrated, but in fact, most of them, if not many of them, viewed it as a virtue. It became not just okay, but it became justified. It became an ideal. And that's where the human mind is very dangerous. So yes, you're not supposed to kill. You're not supposed to steal. But don't just do it because you know it's the wrong thing to do. You understand it's the wrong thing to do. Do it because God said so.